Madam Speaker, I've been tasked by our cabinet and our government to provide an analysis of how global realities influence the local realities here in St. Kitts and Nevis as it relates to our climate resilience program and our agenda for the transformation of St. Kitts and Nevis to a sustainable island state. However, before I present this context from the ministries that I manage, which are actually responsible for the whole of government planning approach, I must start with grace and gratitude for those who have so ably assisted me in the management and leadership of my ministries. After 19 months on the people's job, I am recognizing more and more that effective governance can only be attained with collaboration and partnership. As such, I have no choice but to commence this presentation with generous thanks being extended to key partners, not only of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, but also for the ministries which I lead. The tremendous work in particular completed by the Ministry of Sustainable Development has only been possible with the guidance and support of the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, P.S. Dua Tyson, that's she just stepped in here, thank you very much for your support, and her very hard-working and capable team of directors and technical leads. I have witnessed over the past year the growth in camaraderie, cooperation, and stewardship that has convinced me of the real value in leading through building networks of trust and cooperation. Allow me to also extend thanks to our regional partners who supported and continue to support our work on various projects. I want to support and highlight, rather, the support of UN ECLAC and the UN Country Coordinator, Mr. Cosbert Woods. St. Kitts and Nevis went global with our plans for sustainability, and this was directly linked to his intervention and foresight and his support from our voluntary national report to our participation in the Sustainable Development Goals Summit. Thanks also to our mission in New York. Our presentations of these reports would not have been possible without the collaboration, coordination, and script direction provided by the mission. To our local partners, National Bank, True Capo Videos, Chameleon Media, Kevin Hope, and a host of other local experts who packaged our messaging, scripted our statements. Our mission really has some brilliant sparks, and it's because of the collaboration and support from our partners. Similarly, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Action, Constituency Empowerment, and Parks and Beaches, and Solid Waste Management Corporation, they were reignited with the fire to push for some of our key actions for environmental stewardship, due in large part to the support received from partners like UNEP, CCRE, 5Cs, and most recently, the University of the West Indies. The team on this side of the ministry worked tirelessly to champion our key environmental and biodiversity sanitation targets. However, our greatest partner has been the Republic of China on Taiwan and the Taiwan ICDF program, truly encouraging partnership around recycling and single-use plastics, and of course, our strongest support for the climate resilience program through our recent participation at COP28. Now, allow me to send some serious big up, Madam Speaker, to the growing team of community cleaners who are out there right now collecting, cleaning, and trucking your waste and our waste from our homes to the landfill. Our partnership here is built on one thing: a desire to see St. Kitts and Nevis clean. So thank you to our growing support. Thank you to friends. Thank you to family. Thank you to those persons who I see so infrequently now because of the time spent managing these ministries. And most importantly, thank you to my home community of St. Paul's and Constituency 6. I am learning to serve people better each day. And the best feeling these past 19 months is really waking up every morning in St. Paul's and realizing that I have the greatest opportunity as a young woman to serve people who saw me grow up and people who still come knocking at the doors, people who still believe in community, spirit, and sharing. It's been a pleasure. Now I move to the ministerial updates, and I'll share brief updates on our intra-ministerial work, land, solid waste management program, parks and beaches, and our community cleanse. I think one of our greatest triumphs in the ministry, both sides of the ministry, has been bringing together sustainable development and environment through an intra-ministerial management team. Through this establishment of this unit, we have been able to bring all the angles from our ministry: sustainability, climate resilience, sanitation, health, together to work jointly on projects for St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you, team, for that stewardship and for that leadership. As it relates to land, the Ministry of Sustainable Development launched the Land Allocation and Normalization and Distribution Program at the start of the year. We recognize that special attention was needed to correct many of the irregularities we uncovered. Last year, we made several promises to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'm very pleased to report that every single promise has been realized. Most recently, we engaged in the 2022 regularization process for all applicants who received land during the infamous months of April to August 5th, 2022. I admit now that we did not anticipate the emotional trauma this exercise would have had, not only on the persons who were given their lots, real lots, ghost lots, or duplicated lots, but also on the staff members at the ministry who have been working to regularize this. It has been a very intense period, but the technical land team at the ministry has had the bravado and the stick-to-itiveness that was essential to ensure that every Kittitian who was given that land paper, be it given the land paper just before they went into the electoral box, given the land paper in some very weird or strange way, has the opportunity to be empowered through land. Thank you to St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Kitts in particular, for your patience with the ministry. I am happy to announce that we will commence the regularization of lots in constituencies 5, 6, and 7 most immediately. Allow me to also celebrate the commencement of the distribution of lots. Our targeted program, a very new program, has allowed us to add structure, transparency, and equity to the distribution of lands so far. A solid group of individuals are now in the process of being new landowners. We have improved the payment approach through a solid partnership with National Bank, which sees people moving quickly to land ownership and eventually home ownership. We're in the business of empowerment. Madam Speaker, in this budget, I will not dwell so much on the past. Safe to say, the persons who are responsible for the most corrupt and unlawful distribution of lands in St. Kitts between 2015 and August 5th, 2022, be they minister, doer greeter, choir member, whoever they are, they have caused such heartache, financial distress, and confusion for thousands of Kittitians, and they will answer for their transgressions. The end. They deserve nothing else in this budget. Criminals will pay, but we will continue with the empowerment of Kittitians through land ownership because it is our right. On to solid waste and our recycling project. The success of the recycling program is so commendable. As of November 2023, our partners have collected thousands of pounds of plastics from St. Kitts and Nevis, 700 pounds from government headquarters over the past year, 2,931 pounds from Marriott, 404,000 pounds from the Seventh-day Adventist School, 942 pounds from Charlestown Primary, 2,000 pounds from Nelson Spring. Madam Speaker, I've taken the time to highlight some of these totals to demonstrate who our greatest partners are in this program. From the hotel industry to the private sector, we have found that cooperation must be our highest priority. But our best and brightest partners have been the students, their teachers, and their parents at the various schools. This is a hallmark of sustainability. The youngest amongst us delivering the message of change and acting with support. Our country is on path to transformation. The Parks and Beaches unit has been reinvigorated with a new mandate. Since combining this ministry with environment, we have witnessed an increased partnership in our environmental programs, a new home at La Grite. If you knew the home that Parks and Beaches had down there on the Bay Road, you would think people should be locked up. Whoever was the former Minister of Health. Terrible, embarrassing, squalor. Nobody deserves to work in conditions like that. And I am happy that we have now relocated Parks and Beaches. And I've said oftentimes in this honorable house, not because people do what we think is the lowest of low in terms of jobs, that they should be treated the worst. We should celebrate our sanitation workers. And at our ministry, they are part of us, they are treated equally, and they are treated fairly. What is good for me as minister is good for Parks and Beaches, and it is good for the workers at Solid Waste Management Corporation. Our community cleanse is right now $500,000 and counting. Am I correct? $500,000 and counting. And we started when? 2 weeks ago. Last week? We started last week, and we have spent $500,000 cleaning up your garbage. My garbage too, but I'm talking to some people right now. Now, if we decide that we're not going to spend the money and we're going to put it elsewhere, let's say pass the money to the social services program, we could do all kinds of things. But we recognize the Prime Minister in particular, who probably messaged every single day for 3 weeks, when is the community cleanse starting? What is your budget? Here is the money. That's serious political will, eh? That's serious support. And when I went to cabinet and I said, you know, the cleanup is going to be about $500,000, there was no resistance. There was complete support. Clean up St. Kitts and Nevis. So if these truckers from the Elevate program, these workers from solid waste, the loaders, these cleaners from Parks and Beaches, environmental health, the drain cleaners, who else on the program? The police, the workers from STEP and Elevate are out there collecting our garbage. I think we should pause for an applause, because they do not have to do it. We cannot compensate them well enough to collect that much garbage. We have videos that would move you to tears. However, we established this relationship with the support of the cabinet. The Prime Minister sent us his full team from environmental health, from Elevate. The Minister with responsibility for STEP sent us his team. And through that effort, we have a coordinated approach in terms of cleaning up St. Kitts and Nevis. But we want people to be a little bit more garbage conscious. Our communities must transition to better waste management, waste separation, less consumerism. Let me break that down. Stop buying so much things. And when you buy and you don't want, hand me down and pass it on. It is still a useful tradition. Share more, because we have to think about how much garbage. I mean, the garbage cannot go anywhere. So when you generate it and we take it and carry it to the landfill, it's still there. It does not evaporate from the environment. But we'll get into that later. When we take garbage and we throw it on the cliffside, we're causing more damage than we realize. For example, in many cases, landslides are not only caused by excessive rain, downpour, and steep slopes, but sometimes the weight of the garbage on the very slopes combined with the slush from the rain leads to mudslides. I had the privilege of taking a video at Old Fort Thomas Hotel. When last anyone went over Fort Thomas Hotel? It is a garbage dump. It is embarrassing to another level. Bed, mattress, like I do not comprehend why people would take garbage from their house, hire a trucker, and then truck the garbage to Fort Thomas. It is so cheap and inexpensive to take the garbage to the landfill. But it means either the person who is paying the trucker for the service or the truckers who are doing the service and not conscious about their waste disposal habits. So we need to re-educate St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll add even further that an increasing cause of cancer is linked to consumption of microplastics from seafood. So when we throw our garbage on the cliffside and the beachside, and over time it breaks down, the very fish that we consume consumes these microplastics, and then we consume the fish. And we end up with all kinds of stomach problems because of our own sanitation. Or poor sanitation. It's a very dangerous cycle for human health, and we need to pay attention. And further, if we throw garbage on the beach side, do you think, Minister of Tourism, that you would ever hear a tourist say, I come into St. Kitts, because even though it's dirty, I come in? They're not going to come. So this means that taxis will have no one to drop from Port Zante to the beach. Bartenders will have no drinks to mix. The mother, who is a waitress, will have no drinks to serve, no tips to gain. The aloe rubbing man, I don't know if he still does it, will have no visitors to rub no aloe on because the beaches are dirty. So we're not just doing it for our environmental health. We're doing it for our economic strength. For our personal health, we have to keep the country clean. And I'll end here on the garbage cleanse by reminding the businesses in Bastia, especially close to the Independence Square area, exercise some corporate consciousness and be mindful of dumping your weekend garbage in the Independence Square garbage collection bins. It is wrong and it is unconscionable. Madam Speaker, the National Physical Development Plan, the acceptance of this plan will be completed when Cabinet meets in a couple of days. Importantly, the National Physical Development Plan maps the zones for the entire country and accounts for our future development. Our sustainability platform is based and rooted in this science and in this data. We can reimagine St. Kitts and Nevis around any potential, be it road network, energy, agriculture, tourism, housing, because of the National Physical Development Plan, and I am very happy to report that we are finalizing and accepting this plan to drive St. Kitts and Nevis for the next 20 years. Similarly, the Urban Resilience Plan for Greater Bastia is also accepted, and recently, Cabinet had the benefit of the presentation from the Director of Urban Development, and that spoke to how we are going to work towards making Bastia, Cayon, and Greater Bastia, St. Peter's rather, part of our urban and coastal resilience. Importantly, As stated in the Prime Minister's address, the ministry presented its plan for transformation this year. The presentations were mapped out in our transformation plan as early as December last year. Thanks to ministers of the foreign minister, and to all the workers in the foreign service, St. Kitts and Nevis was able to present some of our most comprehensive plans for sustainability. The presentation of our national status on water at the 10th Annual World Water Summit, led by Minister Maynard, supported by the UN mission. The presentation of our voluntary national review to the United Nations, led by Minister Maynard, supported by the UN mission in New York. The presentation of our ambition and sustainable island state transformation plan as our SDG accelerator model to the UN SDG summit, again by the UN mission in New York. The presentation of our CORV, which is our coastal assessment report, at our Oceans Conference, supported by Ambassador Sherry Truss. The presentation of our commitment to biodiversity protection and the 7th Jeff Assembly, supported by Minister Councillor Eustace Wallace. And the presentation of our climate ambition through the Sustainable Island State Transformation Plan at COP28, led by Prime Minister, where integral international presentations were made, supported by Ambassador Justin Hawley. As we stand on the cusp of an arduous journey of sustainability, St. Kitts and Nevis is unwavering in its mission to forge a future as a thriving, sustainable, large ocean, small island state. In noble pursuit, we will meet the rest of the global community where we convene at the 4th International Conference of SIDS in Antigua and Barbuda in 2024. So I've been telling everybody this. St. Kitts and Nevis is showing up in Antigua and Barbuda 2024 for SIDS. We remain committed to leaving no one behind with a progressive agenda of people-first transformation in comprehensive health care, equity in education, targeted social protection, and workers' rights. St. Kitts and Nevis is at the vanguard of regional progress and SDGs related to people, and this is largely due to a multidimensional approach to poverty alleviation via comprehensive mapping of vulnerability and expanding economic opportunities for the poorest amongst us. So we are prioritizing renewable energy and geothermal, water security, food security, and digital public infrastructure. St. Kitts and Nevis, if you did not know, is a success story in the Caribbean. Even though we are small, we are a success. And we are supporting the global goals for SDGs, and we are making headway not only in the region, but internationally because of the coordinated work of this entire government. What are we focusing on? We have asked for innovative financial instruments. And what does this mean? Our options for financing cannot be based solely on what European models for development think is the best approach for our country. So we have to tell them, give us money and financing in a way that works best for us, so that we are not trapped in a 20-year cycle of loan repayment. We want predictable climate finance. It means we must know where the money is coming from. Whenever there is a hurricane, we must know who we can go to access money to fix our countries. And debt relief. And I'm going to take some time to explain debt relief here. We go nowhere with colonial debt, development debt, and climate debt. If the world wants St. Kitts and Nevis to survive, then it has to forgive our debt, especially debt that it caused us. So imagine the national debt from the strong hurricanes in the 1990s. As a region, we contribute less than 0.2% of global greenhouse gases. That is so negligible, I cannot calculate it.
It's 0.0001.
What would that even mean in maths?
Nothing, we contribute zero.
Zero. We drive cars, but we still contribute nothing, right? We did not change the climate. But the hurricanes, they pass directly over us. They damage our infrastructure, they mash up our roads, and they destroy our homes. Now, the Labour government in 1990s, I have to do a little bit of history here, and in 2000, and the former Prime Minister is right here, so he can correct me if my history is off. We had to choose in 2000 after the hurricanes, Hurricane George, right, in 1998. George, we had to choose. Do we fix the country? Do we transition out of colonial sugar? Do we build homes? Do we feed our people? But he did not choose. He did everything. Fix the country, transition out of sugar, build roads, build homes. Right? Yes, he deserves an applause. And it is only now that I have great respect for that statement made by the former Prime Minister as it relates to national debt then. You remember it? Okay. What was it again?
National debt?
No, I don't know. Of course not. Right? What he said then, small islands in the global south are now telling the world. So you were visionary, even though you can't say it here. Because we are telling them.
Say it and ask for forgiveness.
Right.
I get thrown out.
We are telling them that you caused this. You caused this from since slavery and colonialism and industrial revolution. And you're causing the climate to change. And you're asking us to figure it out? No. So another thing that we're asking for is concessional financing, and I'll explain it using the geothermal reference. You see that US $17 million that CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, injected in St. Kitts and Nevis for geothermal? That is called concessional finance. Simply put, they give us some money for free until we make some money from geothermal, and if we don't, but we will. That's it.
Contingently recoverable grant.
A big explanation.
Contingently
recoverable grant. If you ain't make no money, you ain't gonna get back the money. But if you make it, you have to. And we will make it. Right? I reference it here because we must also, I also want to acknowledge the Premier's opening statement around the 20-year stalemate over geothermal. Again, history, and I stand corrected, but I don't think I'm wrong. And I reference it here because we must also appreciate the significance of fiscal challenges in the early 2000s when decisions were made for increasing minimum wage, building hurricane-resilient homes, fixing the hospital, investing in manufacturing, and developing a tourism industry that's still the number one in the region, right? Now, governments have to make tough decisions around empowering our people. Well, governments that care about the people, right? So let's say we did develop geothermal 20 years ago. I imagine we would be energy independent now. But I'm happy that we are here. However, I still do believe that Premier Brantley exercised some liberal reconstruction of history by laying the blame for not developing geothermal at the feet of former Prime Minister Dr. Douglas. I might be yeah, he did. So I have to correct that, and you have to. I have to correct that, and remind him that there were former premiers in Nevis who had every right and power and will and opportunity to push for GE. I am telling you, he mentioned that it is a 20-year stalemate, and he said that for politics, we like to just refer to 7 years, but it's a 20-year, go ahead, Menkia, it's a 20-year problem, but you have to go listen to the live, eh? So, he said it. Did I miss here?
Honorable members.
Good.
Honorable members. Let us remain respectful.
Let us not reconstruct history. We invested in our people, and we are happy that right now St. Kitts and Nevis are doing geothermal together. Right. Now, I want to bring up another point because I have to explain for once and for all the link between climate change and climate justice and why the ministries are pushing sustainability like this. Reparatory climate justice. Colonialism and climate justice have now been seen to be more closely linked, in particular when it relates to the extractive use of our countries for centuries. The legacies of colonialism are such that our people have been disconnected, denied access to, left with islands to manage that are environmentally raped for industrial purposes. Some scholars and some technocrats even link the intense change in the global climate to the mass extraction from the colonial era. Madam Speaker, they rape us off. They did. Madam Speaker, they extracted and they misused and exploited our country environmentally. Right? Madam Speaker, the IPCC, which is the governing body on climate change, has finally used the term colonialism in its reports on climate justice and climate change. It's a signal moment for us here in the Caribbean because it recognizes and acknowledges that we have to live with the remnants of colonial rule, and we have to accept that colonialism and environmental extractivism and plunder and social subjugation of our populations have been deeply entrenched in our island systems, and that is why we have many of the problems we have here today. So we have to figure out, how do we survive in St. Kitts and Nevis with a change in climate, with colonial debt, with environments that have been exploited, while we push for empowering our people. That is what we're talking about when we talk about transitioning to sustainability. We have to push for justice, centering justice and climate justice. So for 300 plus years, we were exploited. I really believe I want to use the R word, Ms. Mick. I really have to send a message, but I understand.
An argument that it is appropriate and fitting for
we were
context.
right? I'm struggling. I don't want her to throw me out. I want to finish my speech. Right? We were provided paltry services, no sanitation services. Then we were given crippling loans to improve our lives. Then the Industrial Revolution came, and while the northern world developed, we barely transformed because we were excluded from the global industrial system. And that drastically changed the global climate, which is now changing our lives. We are now suffering. And the poorest amongst us feel the challenges in the most extreme ways. Women suffer, children suffer, farmers in rural communities suffer. So when we are asking for justice, it's 357, probably 59 years of justice and reparatory justice. They have to give us money. But the only way to get the money is to go and ask for it. So I think it's a Nevis, we have to make the voices of the most vulnerable heard. We have to make sure we are out there on the global stage. We ain't getting no money this year by staying home because some walrus say we travel too much. We didn't do it by excluding Nevis like they did for 7 years. We didn't do it by majoring in the minor. Some people can only see the smallest of things that we do. They're not seeing the big picture, but let it go ahead and talk, because I got nothing else better to do. Right now, the fight is for every Kittitian and Nevisian. We certainly didn't do it by staying in St. Kitts and Nevis. We didn't do it by sending 2 officers to global conferences to drown in a sea of 4,000 delegates. What we did this, Oh, 70,000 people were there.
70,000. You're talking about COP.
Yes.
70,000.
Oh my goodness, that is why I was so tired. Right? We showed up as a delegation to participate in every critical conversation for SIDS and for climate vulnerable countries. When we joined COP this year, 70,000, I can't believe the number.
Yep.
There were some countries that had over 700 delegates at COP. There were some Caribbean countries that had, Grenada had 33 people, 33, a number of 33. Barbados had a big number. Bahamas had a number. We had
They had other institutions.
and we had 20 people. And half of our delegation was young people sponsored by institutions for their creativity and their innovation. And you have all kind of walrus and teeth talking about stupidness, but I don't know, I don't pay attention.
Something.
That's a climate term.
Right? But we showed up on the international stage. We used our voices. We used your voices in our messages. We use your voices in our videos. We use your experiences in our statements. So we are pushing for equity. So whether you are excluded because of your race, your gender, your religion, your persuasion, your political affiliation, your sexual orientation, or because of who you're connected to, we recognize that every single Kittitian and division deserves free and fair access to resources, and we have to fight here, and we have to fight over there.
It's part of the job.
It is. Madam Speaker, I'm going to use this opportunity to highlight the expansion of our cross-ministerial partnerships around plastics. So special thanks have to be given to the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Culture for being solid partners in a plastic-free SKN. Later, the Minister of Culture, he should announce some good news for a plastic-free carnival. I'm looking at the director, so she could send on the figure for the minister, to ensure that our revelers and partiers can engage in our momentum towards plastic-free SKN. Our entire government speaks the same language around environmental stewardship, climate resilience, and sustainability. We are not using no willy-nilly approach to this sustainability transformation. We are learning continuously, we are strategic, we are planning, and we are ensuring that every ministry can speak towards the SDGs, speak towards the Sustainable Island State Agenda, and climate resilience. I want to pay attention here to one of our most significant travel and negotiation outcomes, which was a very aggressive campaign to scale up finance for our country. We are signatories to the biodiversity framework, and recently the launch and capitalization, putting money into the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, was part of the success, was again because of the lobbying and negotiation of St. Kitts and Nevis, in the person of Ms. Laverne Quealy in the Ministry of Finance. Because of her negotiations, because she took the plane whenever she took the plane and she went, she could sit in a room to say to world leaders, no, St. Kitts and Nevis, like other small island developing states, need more money. And it happened. And Canada recognized our work and has now invited us to be part of their Champions for Nature program around biodiversity. Madam Speaker, St. Kitts is not getting anywhere. If we decide, we're staying home. Now, the ministry, the outlook for both ministries is very bright. We are on the verge of radical improvements. However, there will always be transition, and right now, I have to take this moment to thank and bid farewell and give celebratory goodbyes to Director June Hughes in the Department of Environment, who will be moving on to another excellent phase of her life. We also expect other transitions in our ministry. We will celebrate them and we will welcome them. But what is important is that Ms. Hughes allowed us to extract all the brilliance from her brain for an entire year before transitioning. That is the leadership we want to see in every ministry, a transfer of wealth and knowledge. We're pushing this year for the expansion of our Climate Action Unit. We're going to establish an education unit within the Climate Action Unit at our location in the Sands to ensure that we push for aggressive environmental education. The single-use plastic ban is coming. I'll be right here again in January announcing this. So count this as your first call. Very early next year, we're going to announce the phased ban of single-use plastic items, starting with plastic straws, plastic utensils, and styrofoam. We're working with OECS, and we're happy for their support. Now, Madam Speaker, I think I referenced sometime last year that I went to a Waste and Water Council meeting, and when I sat in the room and every country was talking about how what they're doing with the plastic ban, I was appalled and ashamed and embarrassed. And because I'm competitive by nature, I was like, St. Kitts and Nevis is not going to be last. And I came back to the team, and we have worked for an entire year to ensure that we ain't last no more. So in January, we're going to say goodbye to plastic straws, etc., etc. I'll give the dates in January rather. But we've done this by talking to our stakeholders, talking to the supermarkets, having conversations, pushing for plastic-free Mondays and beyond. And I know, Madam Speaker, there are persons who have said all over Facebook, well, you're telling me don't use plastic straws, but you're selling me the fruits in a plastic bag. Like, they don't understand it. But I'll say this, a very important Jamaican phrase, every mickle make a muckle. You start somewhere. Incremental change leads to lasting change, and you cannot shock a system, an economic system in particular, by saying no plastic bags, because there are no alternatives yet for some of the sources. We can transition to biodegradable sources. We can transition to bioplastics. But the transition must allow for consumers to make the transition and for the persons with the restaurants and the shops and the bars and who sell the chicken and chips and whatever, so that they do not pass the increased costs on to the consumers. Another important aspect for 2024, as you will see in the budget, is a community empowerment fund, and I'm very proud of the Department of Constituency Empowerment for its work in lobbying for this fund, 1.5 million with a release of 500,000 this year. Well, in 2024 for on-the-ground, community-led, community-based projects. Whatever you want to do as a community, we're going to work with you to develop a project or program to implement. This is a hallmark of true people-led sustainability. Importantly, the Republic of China and Taiwan has committed to phase 2 of our recycling program, and that gives me great, great joy. I am happy to say that Taiwan is also an island, a large ocean state. Taiwan is a reliable global partner, and Taiwan is pushing and proving to us that every voice must be counted on the international fora when it comes to climate resilience and environmental conservation. Madam Speaker, St. Kitts and Nevis is not a country on its own. We're not a planet on a planet by ourselves. We can never think of ourselves as separate and apart from what's happening in the rest of the world. So the ever-changing nature of global alliances means that we will be affected. The shifting strength of oil, gold, and precious commodities means there will always be changing alliances. And St. Kitts and Nevis, if we're to progress towards our 2030 agenda, then we must recognize our regional partners and our international partners. We must recognize that our strength lies in being able to withstand any other pandemic, any global conflict, or any extreme circumstance. But how are we going to do this? We have to be sustainable. Conflict is brewing in our backyards. The Premier suggested that maybe the Foreign Minister would speak to this, but we all can speak to this. We won't have to wait very long to hear about more conflict and more tension. We are painfully aware that the presence of any resource has always created conflict. Oil for Guyana and Venezuela. Now, can you imagine the potential for conflict if geothermal resources are so... the Minister of Energy has said it before, it's more energy than we need. But what we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis is the safety of that resolution passed in the House just last week or 2 weeks ago, which means we are together. And I'm going to say this. It also means that we, St. Kitts and Nevis, has to remain one. That we must never allow geothermal energy to be shrouded in conflict. It means that there is never a St. Kitts over here and a Nevis over there. To say the least, I hope secession is never part of our vocabulary again. This must keep us together. Okay? When it comes to climate and health, the continued economic stress caused by our deteriorating health in our nation will always be a hindrance to sustainable development. The connections are very simple and very clear, and my task today, as I said, is to make the connections real for people. Changing climate leads to changing rain patterns. Less water means lower agricultural productivity. Lower productivity and scarcity means higher cost of healthy, locally grown food. This means that people who are paid the lowest have less room in their budgets to purchase local food to cook. This means mommy and daddy and whoever is not buying sweet potato and corn. He or she is buying chicken and chips. And that means children don't benefit from healthy, nutritious food. We may have high caloric intake in St. Kitts and Nevis, but the quality of the calories are such that our children are packed with food, but it's nutrient deficient food. Do I have it right? Right. It does not stimulate learning, nor growth, nor development. It means higher cases of non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension in our young population, more amputation, more blindness, a less resilient state. It means instead of building homes, we give more money to social security benefits. It means instead of investing in 1% interest loans for your small businesses and your entrepreneurial activity and supporting the creative economy, it means giving support for urgent medical care. The links are clear. If we don't support Minister Duggan's 25 by 2025 agenda, we're at risk of dying. If we don't push for climate resilience, we are at risk of disappearing. I'm from St. Paul's, Madam Speaker. Yeah, that's where I live. You sure? Madam Speaker, I grew up on red fruit and tanya and blueberry and soup on a Saturday and so. And I really can't, oh, thank you. I cannot imagine a life without these nutritious items in my diet. And I really feel very bad for young children who do not experience the same things that we grew up on. And it's not really their fault. They're not available, or if they are, we're choosing alternatives. Or the climate is such that it's making it difficult for farmers to produce what they have to produce. But the whole point is resilience and sustainability is also based on health. And as it relates to finance, the world maintains that our development should be stifled because we are a middle-income country. overseas development aid is not easy to access. It's not readily available for us because of that status. Now, where did we get this status of a middle income or high income country? The increasing earnings and strength of the very CBI program that we are being warned by Premier to step away from. All GDP isn't created equal, though, Madam Speaker. So while St. Kitts and Nevis has a high income is a high income country, the reality is not so on the ground. And I don't want to be the one doing poverty porn, Madam Speaker, talking about how poor people are, to alarm you and to push you to act. But I have to outline that there are single mothers out there with, listen, 4 weeks ago I was at Sustainable for one of our land regularization program. And a young mother came in and she was shaking and she was nervous. And before she started talking, she started crying. And what is the problem? You know, we're asking her, what's wrong? We're not going to do anything to hurt you. We're here to help you. And she said, if you have a house to clean this Christmas, please call me, I want to clean it. I said, okay, no problem, but let's hear your story. She said, really, I need work. I need help. And I said, let's hear. She said, well, I was given this piece of land, you know, and yes, they say I must vote for them and all kind of things. Here, but she said she is renting from someone in Sandy Point. She has 5 children. It's one room. When rain fall, they get wet. And the bathroom is outside. It's a pit latrine and an outside shower. 4 girls, 1 boy, 1 room. When it rains, she gets wet. The girls don't go out in the night, naturally, to use the bathroom because they are afraid. Madam Speaker, this is St. Kitts and Nevis. This is 2023. And a lot of you don't believe, a lot of us don't think that this is the reality on the ground. But when our MPs do their walkthrough, that is what they see. That is why the minister here had to build the house them. That is why he has to do the bathroom program. That is why the workers in empowerment out there on the road every day, they are moved. Some of the things hurt to the core because some of these people are, you said don't use the R word. I don't want to be extremely political, but I have to say for 7 years, some of these people were used, fooled, and bought and sold like meat because of politics, and nobody helped them. And that is not right. So when we are talking about social protection in sustainable island state, that is what we mean. People need their house, people need their land, people need their bathrooms, children need to be protected. Okay? There are young men out there who spend all night in the road, and people want to know why they always on the road. Where you going to be if you're not going to where to sleep? So in the night you go in and you sleep on your mother couch and you smoke and you say, well, you need to get away from what it is. I'm not saying that all of them smoke. I'm just saying if you need to hold a meds to deal with the situation that you face, and all you want is somebody to help you construct a 1-bedroom in your mother's backyard so you can have peace of mind. I mean, come on, Madam Speaker, we have to acknowledge that St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a ways to go when it comes to helping our people. And that is why I'm so happy for everything that was announced yesterday. And I'm happy for whatever will be announced from our various ministers as it relates to protecting our people. It is really serious, and it is linked to this whole Sustainable Island State program that we are pushing. Last night I drove home and I opened a text message now. Please don't forget what I told you. You know what the lady told me?
No.
I'm going to tell you. So I pull up by my family shop. You know, baby shop in St. Paul's? You say you're from St. Paul's.
I said no St. Paul's.
Okay. Anyway, so FM, I pull up by Beverly shop. Right by your sister,
Yes.
there is a house there. No. Right by your sister's home. You know, when you're going over into the project, there's a house there with no lights, no water. It is not because the people were reckless and run business and ain't pay for the lights and you turn it off. No. It is because they ain't have the necessary title to the land to go to the relevant agencies to have them put in the land and the water, because we have the lights and the water. We have to empower people. And this is not a woman by herself. This is a woman and a man and children, and these are people we're going to help. And I'm saying it now because she probably doesn't know that people care about her. We are going to fix it, because there are some times when situations require a signature to say, put it on. Give her the water, give her the lights for the sake of the children. And she's not the only case. Thanks. There are many cases in all of your constituencies, and we have to fix them. Right? We don't need examples, more examples of what climate change and sustainability means. If we turn on the taps and there's no water, it's not Minister Maynard's fault. Climate change. If we go outside and it's hot and it's humid, climate change. In December, climate change. When the farmers say the fruits bear too quickly, it's not because Minister Duggins didn't give them the right inputs. Climate change. When fisher folks say, oh, the fish don't bite and jacks don't stir, it's not because he didn't give them oil to put in their boats. Climate change, warmer oceans, changing sea patterns. The fish will migrate. When we drive over to Lynch's Bay, for those of you who know the other side of the country, and the water is in the road, and you want to know what Public Works doing, ain't Public Works fault, you know, in this case. It's climate change. When we wonder why mango season starts so late and done so early, climate change. When we realize that just a little passing tropical storm mashing up the house, climate change. When we realize that the Minister of Housing is now saying the homes have to be climate smart and they're going to cost a little bit more, it's climate change. It's changing our lives, and we have to adjust. So we have to push for the survivability of every petition and division. It's a crippling reality that we face. How are we going to survive the next 40 years if we don't push for our sustainable island state transformation? We have to stand here today and accept that this budget speaks to the strength of a climate resilient country. The Ministry of Finance got it right. They get it right. I went to the FS yesterday and I said, thank you. The budget is real. The budget reflects climate resilience. The budget reflects our decision to change our country to a sustainable island state. The budget reflects our decision to leave no one behind. Madam Speaker, is it time to ask for a little bit of time? Okay, good. How much more time I have? Oh, wow. I'm going to take my time. Madam, okay, and I don't think I will. I'm almost done.
Remember, it's only in the 4th or 5th hour that things just get juicy.
Oh. The decision to engage in holistic, I'm going to be juicy today, I tell you the truth. I'm only talking about climate change and sustainability because I mean it. Sorry, juicy already? That's why I over there scribbling. Nobody try answer nothing here, you know. Okay. I mean, everything I say, you have to accept that it is the truth and it is good for St. Kitts and Nevis. So whatever Alexis, Jeffers, whatever you scribble over there, rub it out. Rub it out. Member for Nevis 11, I apologize, Madam Speaker. You see, is he rile me up, you know? Just rub it out. Good, thank you. Now, oh, okay. So, Madam Speaker, this ain't come towards my time. It didn't. So, Madam Speaker, we have to be holistic. We have to be inclusive. we have to be collaborative, and we have to push for legislative transformation. And that's why I know I am number one on the AG's agenda next year, from the NCMA to the plastic ban, to climate resilience, to the sustainable island state. Every single thing is going to come here to our parliament to ensure, right?
Land allocation.
Oh, the land allocation, I'm going to talk about that just now, and also the abandoned properties.
Community Beautification and Safety Act.
Yes, we're bringing them next year because we are putting the legislation behind our changes. Madam Speaker, I also have to reference when it comes to legislative changes, just because the AG just mentioned it. When you decide that you're going to package your garbage, drive behind where SKNIS is, and dispose of it, it means you're willful. You're willful bad. You live in town. And anybody could do it, country or town, it doesn't matter. I'm just giving the example that we have on record. You're going to take your car and drive behind SKNIS and walk in the bush and throw down garbage. That can make sense to anyone? Why can't you just leave the garbage there on the side by your property where solid waste will collect it? Or hire a truck of $150 to dispose of it at less than, the tipping fees less than $20. It means petitions are willful and divisions, or we're not educated. I just had to say that. When you have your beautifully kept property and people around you decide they not cut their yard, they ain't gonna clean it up, they're gonna throw garbage on it, they will fall. And that is why the urban resilience plan that the department, urban development department will lead, needs the tooth or teeth of the legislation that the AG will present. Yes, we have to find them. In New York, littering is $5,000. That's what we need to get through. Punitive measures to prevent people. But before we get there, we are talking about partnership, collaboration, and education. And that is why I want to thank all the respective ministries for supporting our program. In particular, I am so happy that I am not the sole Minister of Sustainable Development and Environment. I am not. Every single member in this cabinet is a champion to the cause. They speak the language. They understand the concepts. They ask me whenever they think it's too technical, because the people at Sustainable and Environment break bad and really good. I've never met such a strong team in my life. And they present the information for us. They're right out there. We do this together, both sides of the ministries. And they're very supportive. As an advocate for climate resilience and empowering the most vulnerable, it brings me serious joy that I can serve in this cabinet with my colleagues who are seriously and genuinely taking on the mantle of climate resilience and climate advocacy. I want to thank in particular the Foreign Minister for allowing me to use all of his workers from all over St. Kitts, the UAE, Canada. We use them, they work with us. I want to thank my colleague and friend, Minister Maynard. I can actually just, leave and he can become the Minister of Environment because he gets it, he understands it, he champions it, and his ministry support us. But Minister Maynard, there is just one thing I need for you for the Sustainable Island State agenda. And you have to promise me that when you start it, you're going to finish it.
I need to promise first.
Yes, promise first. No, but the truth is, it's a song I want. I really need a song to talk about sustainability. A really good, catchy song that shows us why climate resilience and sustainability is the way to go. So he promised and he will finish.
What do you catchphrase?
Yeah, I don't know. What you said, Foreign Minister? Delivery? Something. Oh, okay. But we need a song. We need something to support the campaign that we are on. And when it comes to the geothermal energy sector, This will drastically transform St. Kitts and Nevis. We will be, as I mentioned in the last parliament, the Wakanda of the region if we invest together and we invest strategically. Can you imagine St. Kitts and Nevis where we could zip across the Nevis on the bridge, the road that connects us? That when we turn on the lights, we never receive an electricity bill? Or a society where there is no poverty? Where the state can afford to take care?
Never receive electricity?
Never. Like skeleton just had to dissolve. Never.
Yeah, pressure body.
Can you imagine?
Transition.
Can you imagine, right? No poverty, where the state can take care of every citizen, where the Minister of Energy will elaborate more on this. It's not a highfalutin goal. It is possible that we are powering the region and that we are changing every life because of energy independence. The president of the CDB, I think he said that, Minister Maynard, at our COP pavilion, energy is everything. The world started on energy, and the world will continue on energy, but it's what type of energy. And in fact, another history lesson, the first oil was discovered in, I think it's in China in 600 BC, and they transported it to pipelines made of bamboo. But however, they say, and it's true, that Colonel Drake's, his discovery of oil in Pennsylvania in 1859, and in Texas in 1901, that set the stage for a new oil economy. The world is fighting the global phase out of fossil fuel and oil. Oil nations know that for 164 years, oil drove the Industrial Revolution and it drove their economies. It gave them freedom to turn on lights. It meant freedom to develop, freedom to have activities at night, freedom to spend more money. It meant 24/7 manufacturing, better sanitation, cleaner foods, health, medicine, advancement, a stronger society. While they did this and they became more advanced, they ruined the world for us. They changed the climate for us. Now, we have a golden, rich opportunity to use geothermal energy to secure our future and our advancement. So when you think of what geothermal will do for us, it is not just this Kelec bill that will disappear. It is manufacturing, tourism, it is development, advancement. It means every child gets free scholarship to any university. You could imagine that? That you don't have a student loan weighing you down for 20 years like me? That you could literally leave CFBC and go and study for free? Energy security. We have to work together. So just over a year ago, when we presented our vision for the sustainable island state, we recognized that it could not be done with the government alone. As such, we spent an entire year in consultation with local experts, the permanent secretaries, the youths in our national youth dialogue. We went into the communities. Cabinet had extensive consultation. It was like we were in school. And we learned what sustainability should look like. And we consulted with our experts to create a vision that was practical, that was possible, and that would serve the people. Here we are 1 year after. We have a shared vision. It's for the diaspora and it's for us. It's about our collective hopes and it's about the future of St. Kitts and Nevis. So why are we going to transform? We have to do it not just for the 53,000 strong that we are. We're doing it for the 150,000 plus the diaspora plus St. Kitts plus everybody who gonna want to come to St. Kitts because St. Kitts is gonna be the place to be. We're doing it because we are vulnerable to hurricanes. We're doing it because we are vulnerable and dependent on oil imports. We're doing it because our economy still needs to develop. We're doing it because of the ravages of colonialism. We are doing it because of what COVID-19 did to our economy. We are doing it because we still import more than we export. We're doing it because every time you walk on a beach, there's sargassum. We're doing it because our beaches are disappearing. We're doing it because our children are suffering. We're doing it because fish is my primary source of protein, but fish stocks are declining in warmer oceans. I can continue to tell you why we have to transition, why we have to transform. We are doing it because our increasing vulnerabilities to climate-related disasters means that we will never escape without a secure plan. This is our security. This is our ticket to empowerment and independence. We are the smallest nation in the Western Hemisphere, but our size is also our strength. We can generate income for everyone. We can create a life of wealth and health and strength for every Kittitian, and only a caring Labour government really would push for something like this for everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are using this as our strength, and we want to do it with you. We have to pivot to economic sustainability. We have to ensure that every Kittitian has a share in the new sector, the new energy sector. We have to ensure that nobody is left behind. Our journey, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be smooth. When the energy come out the ground, we're going to have a lot of things that we think we could do with it. There are going to be a lot of competing development options. But when we collaborate, when we dialogue, when we talk, it means we're securing our collective future. Madam Speaker, the Sustainable Island State Pillar as it is now, it is our bread and butter. And I know last time when I was in cabinet, I said I like crackers and so, right? I really like crackers in the night. But to tell you the truth, I am Kittitian to the bone. And if it's one thing every Kittitian like is bread and butter. Whether the bread stale and you warm it up, it's nice. The bread fresh and you eat it with butter, it's nice. Bread and butter. And we want to take bread and butter from people. Bread and butter. We don't want to take that from you. And we need you to understand that when we speak about water security, we are telling you that you have the water you need for your health, for sanitation, for food. The bakery needs water to bake the bread. Okay? You have the water for manufacturing. You have freedom. It's on Pillar 2, energy transition. We have geothermal. It will secure our future and we can innovate, invest. Every entrepreneur could sell. They don't need to come to the small business unit for no loan because there's grants and projects and all kind of things going to be happening. We are going to thrive when we have energy. It's about food security, Pillar 3, health, productivity, exports. Sustainable industry, Pillar 4. This means your livelihoods are secure. Tourism is secure. Tourism is 52+% of our GDP. People will not going to live without tourism. And that is why I am so happy that our new best minister in the region is pushing for resilient, regenerative, sustainable tourism. Let me tell you something. They get it at the Ministry of Tourism. You know, once tourism was twinned with environment, and there's a reason behind that, you know. You cannot develop a sector that is based primarily on our beaches, our sand, our sea, our forests, our water, and our energy, and separate it from protecting the very environment that it is needed to push. So I understood that link. But you have enough work down there, so we're going to keep environment and we're going to keep working together. Pillar 5, sustainable settlements, coastal resilience, and smarter homes. Take a drive to Halfway Tree. Go and see the coastal erosion and the abandoned homes. Take a drive. When former Prime Minister Dr. Douglas was Prime Minister, they moved people. They moved them out of the coastal area in Halfway Tree and gave them land upland because of coastal erosion from rising sea levels. Climate migration is real. We need smart homes Jeffrey, we really need the homes. We need the homes. We need the homes. We're behind you 100%. Circular economy, zero waste, recycling, waste to energy, waste to cash, sustainable fashion. Madam Speaker, my first session at COP28 was our full session with Foreign Minister on sustainable fashion, on smart consumerism, on the creative economy. Every single minister here needs to be at COP, but of course we can't all go. And that is why I'm happy that we learn from each other and we can speak for and on behalf of each other. And finally, Pillar 7, social protection and health. The ministry recently got an email, I can't recall who the email, it was a youth group, and they said to us they have been following the Sustainable Island State Transformation Plan, and they feel that they want to talk to us because they believe we should have an 8th pillar, sustainable health. And that is what it is about, the continued dialogue to figure out exactly how this plan will look. We are not bringing a plan to you and telling you this is it. We spent a year developing a framework. Now we're going to work with our partners at UE in the person of Professor Campbell, who are going to help us and CFBC craft a plan based on your inputs for how we should transition and develop our economy. We are going to use the youth to champion this program. What you want, we are going to put in it, because I am not working here because I want to live in a better St. Kitts alone. I am thinking about my little niece, the niece to come, the cousin that I have there,
Your children.
and the one that I adopted.
Honorable member for number 11 says he's going to help.
Oh, you hooking us up?
Number 10.
Right? I am thinking about those young, bright smiles. They don't know that we're in a state of crisis. They're happy. And we need them to thrive and survive in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if we have to do an 8th pillar, we will do it. But we're working together with our financial institutions, our academic institutions, and our local experts to ensure this agenda for 2037 and beyond is one which ensures that St. Kitts stays forever. Our culture stays forever. Our people thrive forever. We need money. So I am happy that the CBI Investment Migration Program has a sustainable island state option. This is what we're talking about when a government is together, when a government is supportive, when a government understands that this policy that I'm always talking about needs financial support and legislative support. This is not no willy-nilly government. This agenda is solid. We need you with us. We need you behind it. Let's continue the dialogue. Let's continue profiling our communities to look at the places where people are most vulnerable. Let's be inclusive. Let's collaborate. Let's be innovative, creative. Let's push our entrepreneurs. Let's look towards equity, education, and people-centered approach. Madam Speaker, as I close, when I think of St. Kitts and Nevis, they call us islanders, SIDS, small islands, developing countries, lesser developing countries, Caribbean, coastal. They reference many of our coastal challenges: rising sea levels, sargassum, beach erosion, overfishing. Admittedly, every description references our weaknesses, but we are small, but we tolerate. We are large ocean states. We have strength beyond the edges of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have strength in our diaspora. We have to work together. Recently, our mantra, thanks to the Minister of Energy and the Minister of Lyrics, clearly, has been, there is strength in smallness. While we magnify our size with reference to being a large ocean state or a developing economy, we must ensure that we transition into a sustainable island state with and for every single Kittitian. and Nivision. Thank you, Madam Speaker.